No, you would not want to.
Yes, I would. I would not want to go see. I would not pay
over
money.
Steph Curry and Trae
I
Young and
would
Dame.
What's up, everybody? Episode 4, Targeting Podcast. Like and subscribe the YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify now, so like that up. We're gonna go through the NBA today, NFL, and we're gonna finish up with an old-fashioned MJ LeBron debate. We're going to start on kind of a sad moment. If you're not from Boston, you probably aren't aware. But Celtics legend Tommy Heinsohn died this week. I believe it was on Tuesday of this week. And we're going to just do a short tribute, moment of silence to him. Just a great NBA player, great announcer. Really just went through the hearts of Boston, old and young. So he was number 15. We're going to just do a quick 15-second moment of silence for him. So we're going to start that now. Thank you, guys. Okay. Sorry.
He went to Holy Cross, basketball legend.
Yeah, that was just terrible. Terrible news this week.
Yeah, absolutely tragic. He was a part of all 17 Celtic championships. That's crazy. He won 10 as a player, then had some as a coach, and then was just an announcer from there on out. So that's tragic news. He was a legend.
I mean, he's the reason you switched from NESN to ESPN. I mean, it's very
Facts.
sad, and we're gonna miss him very much.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll get into a little happier part of the podcast. So we're going to talk about the NBA. A lot of NBA news this week, guys. So, Justin, you want to kind of go through the rundown of what kind of went on this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome news. We're getting the NBA back officially December 22nd. There was rumors of all different sorts of dates, but it is officially December 22nd, which is freaking awesome. That's just about like a month away, a little over a month away at this point. So that's hype. The draft is next Wednesday, November 18th. So, and then free agency opens up November 20th, 2 days later, and signings can happen November 22nd. So, man, things are going to be coming in hot as far as the NBA goes. And our next few episodes here on the pod are going to be pretty freaking great. It's wicked exciting.
Wicked exciting. So do you want to kind of talk a little bit? We know as of now that Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston. And James Harden wants to stay. So let's just kind of go around the horn. Just quick thoughts on that. Do you think Houston needs Russ? Where's the best place for Russ to go? Justin, you can start.
Yeah. So it's funny. He says some of the reasons he gave for wanting out was that there was a lack of accountability in Houston, which is pretty funny coming from Russell Westbrook's mouth. But and also he wants to be the primary ball handler again. So basically, the only way that happens, I think, is on a losing team, or not necessarily a losing team, but a low playoff seed team. There's been some rumors to the Los Angeles Clippers because Kawhi says he wants a point guard, but I feel like that's going to be tough to make that happen. The Hornets have emerged as a likely suitor for him. The Knicks, the Pistons are always options. It's he's got a massive contract, so something's going to have to go the other way. And like the Hornets would have Nick Batum's big contract to go the other way. The Pistons would have Blake Griffin they could send the other way. So it also is about what the Rockets want too. So I don't know how you're going to get equal value for him, but we'll see what ends up happening with the Rockets. It's going to be a crazy offseason for them. It seems like it always is for them. They're always in the news every offseason. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think that if they did the trade for Blake Griffin, that it's like it's fair trade? I don't know. Yeah.
That I think would be the best value going back the other way, because I mean Nick Batum is just that'd be terrible. You're basically not getting anything back.
To like what other team would he go to that's really bad that they could get a fair trade for the Rockets? So
I mean, like, so the Knicks could send like Julius Randle maybe the other way. Like I said, for the Hornets, it'd probably be Nick Batum, maybe a young piece, but and then probably Blake. You go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I just think the best thing that the Rockets can do is, I think Russell Westbrook was a great experiment, but clearly, I mean, I'm not gonna say it didn't work out totally. Just they still made the playoffs. They still kind of got decently far. So I'm not gonna say it was a completely failed experiment, but I think the best thing they can do right now is either build on draft picks, give up Russ up for a player, and then just a lot of draft picks, help your team up, or get a big man. The Rockets need a big. They tried the small guard. The best thing they can do is get a big. I don't know who's going to want Russell Westbrook, to be honest. I know if I was a coach or a GM, he's one of the last guys I would want on my team personally, but we'll see. I don't know. It's wild.
So will the Rockets try to make a move before draft day, you think, in hopes that they get draft picks?
I don't think they'll make a move. A draft day is next week, so I don't think I think it's too late for that. But I mean, they have. I mean, right now, I don't think. I mean, I thought with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, if they both wanted to stay, they could have made I don't know if they could have made a run, but they could have got somewhere. I think James Harden alone, I think they're going to need some other pieces, and I don't know if they're going to get them right away. So I think the best thing they can do is work towards the future for them. Get some draft picks, do what the Celtics did with like Paul Pierce and that, and just you're literally just on it's not a rebuild because you still have James Harden, but I don't know. I think the best thing they can do for them is build their future. What about
James Harden still had some looks from, or potential looks, they said, from the 76ers, and who was it, the Bucks or something?
I don't know about the Bucks, but the 76ers
I
sending
think
Ben
it was the
Simmons or
76ers
Joel
for
Embiid
sure.
has always been a rumor. Yeah, one or
For
the
sure,
other.
but I think Harden's staying with the Rockets more so than Russell's going to stay with them. So I think it's better if they can try and keep Harden as much.
I thought
get something.
Harden was going to want to leave personally. I mean, I guess
I think he's gonna want
I
out.
that Russ left. That wants to leave, but I don't know. I thought Harden was going to want out, but I guess it was probably one or the other. I mean,
If I have to choose between the two, I'll probably keep Harden. And that's your
Definitely.
your big score right there. And Russ is just
Harden's just an automatic scorer. I think Russell Westbrook is just a stat stuffer. That's his role. It's just to put some numbers up.
I mean, they made it the playoffs with Russ, and the Harden Russ, as you said, experiment. It seemed to work, but I don't think it's a good long run. I think they definitely, like you said, they need some draft picks, and sending Russ out is probably.
I think they should have gave it another year, to be totally honest. I mean,
I'd be fine with another year, but they definitely need the draft picks.
That's like I mean, I guess the OKC team of Russell Westbrook, Harden, and KD. That was obviously a younger version of themselves, but I thought they could have gave it another year and kind of worked something out, but I don't know.
I'm surprised Russ isn't staying for another year, but I definitely am not surprised by, Justin, your note here. He wants to be the primary ball handler. Not surprised with that at all, because you already got a guy on the team, Harden, who's been there, and he always gets the ball. Always.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it's
he's
hard
got
to-
like a historically high usage rate. Nobody has a usage rate like James Harden.
Yeah, no one does. And especially for a team like the Rockets. And you bring in a player like Russ, who they've played together before, but again, they were younger. Now Harden's established himself on the team. Now, Harden's got to take some of his plays and shots away from himself, which, he's probably fine with, but, Russ probably wants more than what he's getting.
Say what you want about James Harden, but in my opinion, personally, he's very consistent, what I've seen. Like, I mean, he's going to take a lot of shots, but he's going to make.
You can't argue against that. He is consistent. I don't like him, but he's consistent.
Yeah, he's consistent. So
I have a hot take. I think, right, we're talking about Blake Griffin on the Pistons trade with Russ, and Detroit has the first pick, right? The draft.
No, they have 7.
yeah.
The Timberwolves have the first pick.
I get it from Minnesota. That's what.
What
I'm saying.
about that?
I see. I just was on 247 Sports on Instagram, and it says Detroit was going to get the trade from Minnesota. If that happens, then Melo Ball could potentially go to the Rockets if they traded for Blake. So that's my hot take. That would be pretty dope. Long way
Wait,
off.
so how does LaMelo end up in Houston?
Because apparently, what I see right now is the Pistons have.
So you're saying the Pistons get the number 1 pick, they pick
Right.
LaMelo, and then they trade.
They trade that pick for Russ in exchange with Blake as well.
Yeah,
So Ball and Blake go to the Rockets.
could be.
Wow,
That's Russ.
that just seems like way too much value going the other way to Houston.
I think
It would be
it'd be Blake for Russ or the pick for Russ. It can't be both. And I don't think they would give away the pick, LaMelo. I don't think they'd give
I
away
think
LaMelo.
the Rockets know personally, I mean, this is what I think. They're gonna lose a little value on Russ. They'll be lucky if they can get equal value, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. I think Blake Griffin, the value there, I think is the best you're going to get, like a Blake Griffin for Russ, something like that. I think Justin was right with that. That's the most, because at this point, Russ is just, I mean, you've seen him play. You know what you're getting in return. You know, at this point, you don't want to give up way too much for Russ. I mean,
it could be a multiplayer trade.
It could be, but
Yeah.
I don't see the value that you're putting in being more than what you're getting. Do you know what I mean?
Blake Griffin and Russ are equal? You think that's a fair trade?
I think that at this point, based on the size of their contracts and the Blake only has 1 year left on that massive ass deal. Russell Westbrook has 3 years left. And I really don't think any picks are going to go the other way, unless it's a situation where he ends up in Charlotte and it's just Nick Batum, who that value is way lower than a Julius Randle or a Blake Griffin would be.
Yeah,
Not to say that Julius and Blake are on the same level, because I do think Blake Griffin, if he can stay healthy, Blake and James Harden could be something nice. If you bring in a center, that is the only chance I think that the Rockets can maintain a threat in the playoffs. At this point, I don't know what the Rockets do with just James Harden. If they're just going to bring back like PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, like if they're just going to run it back with a similar squad, maybe even they do bring in a center.
We're trying to get
The reason I wish Russ came back for another season is because we've seen the Rockets go far in the playoffs before. We've seen them with Harden. They had one season, I think it was 2017. Maybe they were first in the league, and they went to the conference finals. It was 1 year.
2017 or 18. One of those.
2017 or 18. But other than that, they've been really around the 3, 4, 5 seed. Repeatedly in the years. And not to disrespect Harden, it's just that Harden is not the guy I think that can carry a whole entire team on his own. And when you get Russ, they still performed like a playoff team. But I think I was expecting them to do better with Russ than I thought. So I would like to see them run it back again with Russ, see if they can potentially get something in that duo again. But
I just don't see why you would. I mean, he put in for a trade request, so it's probably a player of that caliber. He'll get moved if he wants to get moved. I bet he does get moved. But
he wants to get moved, so it's no debate.
Yeah, but I don't really see the point of it. Like if you're Houston, I mean, I guess they're not. It's not up to them because he put in a trade request. So I guess this is kind of irrelevant. But you're not going to get equal value. So you're not going to be a better team next year than you were this year.
I don't think Houston wanted to get rid of him because they're going to lose value on this. I think no matter what, they'll be lucky if they get equal value because
they definitely didn't want to get rid of him.
Well, they definitely didn't want to. Because teams aren't going to get. Teams know that he's just a stat stuffer. They're not going to help. He's not going to help any team get closer to a championship. So they wanted to probably ride him out for his contract and then just see if they can get anything out of him. But if they can't, then worst case scenario, they don't have to. But now, since he's putting in a trade request, they have to let him up. They have to give him up. So yeah, I don't know. I think the best thing you can do if you're Houston, in my opinion, is either get a big off of him, like Blake Griffin or something like that, or you just get draft picks.
If you can. I don't know that teams are going to be willing to give up draft picks for Russell Westbrook. Right
I don't think you'd give up draft. If you do give up a draft pick,
I don't think they would. But if I'm the Rockets GM, I'm trying.
Try the best you can.
I think you get a center. I think you get a big man. I think you get someone.
All right, I'll ask you one question, then we'll move on to more NBA news.
Yeah, then we'll move on.
Do you think? Would you be willing to give them up? Okay, so you're probably saying that teams wouldn't want to give up first rounders, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
Second rounders is one thing. Yeah.
Would you be willing to give up more? Would you be willing to get multiple second rounders and potentially a player? And give up Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I would do that. Yeah, I would do that. First rounders, no way. You're not giving up first rounders for Russell.
Because like the Pistons and the Knicks and the Hornets, the three teams you were just talking about, their picks in the draft this year are 3 for the Hornets, 7 for the Pistons, and 8 for the Knicks. All of those are way too valuable for.
No, you're definitely not asking for any this year. That's why I'm saying.
But it'd be future picks, yeah. Which is why, to answer your question from a few minutes ago, Damon, I don't think it'll happen before the draft. It very well could, but I think it won't happen for the no matter what picks end up going there that way. If there are picks at all involved, it won't be for this year's draft. They'll be for the future. But we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
We'll definitely talk about it when he gets traded. We'll be on here talking about it. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
let's run. You gotta subscribe.
Subscribe to the news.
Let's run through these other guys quickly because these ones are.
Yeah, we'll go through them quickly.
Yeah, go ahead,
You
Justin.
go ahead. All right. So Victor Oladipo, apparently this season was when they were playing the Heat, Raptors, and Knicks, was talking to opponents in front of his teammates saying, "Can I come play with y'all?" And like it's been reported in multiple sources from Indiana. Like that's crazy. That's hilarious. But it's no real big surprise that he wants out. Coming off that injury, he doesn't really know what he can be, and Indiana's got a lot of people that want the ball in their hands. He just wants a new
setting.
a new setting, exactly. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, especially with that injury. And
where out of those teams do you guys think he's most likely to land?
I think the Heat. The Heat's I don't know what the Heat would have to give up for that. I don't know what the Heat are gonna have to give up for that. The Heat, I think, already are a team that they don't really need much. If they get anything, it's gonna be some new rookie players.
They don't need the position.
They don't need. Yeah, I think the Raptors or Knicks would be the teams most likely to get him. I think
if the Raptors lose Freddie and bring in VO, I mean that fills the spot right there.
I think Raptors would be the biggest candidate if that happened. But if not, then I think the Knicks would probably make a move if any team.
I'm surprised. Do you guys think New York is lost? Obviously, New York's New York, and people still want to go there. But do you think it's like lost? I don't want to say value, but
like attraction to free agents.
Yeah, like I feel like everyone wants to go to LA. I don't think everyone wants to go to Boston, but a lot of people want to go to Miami. And I always thought it was a case at one point that a lot of people wanted to go to New York. And now I just think talk about the Knicks landing people all the time, and they don't keep them. They don't even keep them if they get them.
Well, I don't think it's. They don't even get them.
They don't get them.
I don't think it's a New York problem. I think it's a
Knicks problem.
It's a Knicks problem.
I think it kind of
Kyrie and KD tried to prove that the Nets is New York's team now. That's what they were trying to say. So I don't know about that, but
when especially New York, you got two teams almost in every single league. You got already a problem there with fans. You're splitting your state basically among that. That's the great thing about Boston is we're collecting all these states with New England as well. It's not just Boston. You know what I mean? LA, like California, LA can have as many teams as they want because they just have that whole, like California, you can just, like, Dame, you're out there.
That's why the Sacramento Kings will never beat.
Right, exactly. So I think it's tough, especially when you have two phenomenal players, Kyrie and KD, going to the Nets over the Knicks when they had this whole discussion. That kind of, when two star players who are getting looked at by the Knicks and they're almost going to go there and then they just switch over to the Nets, that kind of puts a...
I just think it's wild because, like, MSG is such a beautiful place.
Oh, it is, no doubt. And they've put a lot of money into that, but they're obviously not getting...
Even with all these bad teams every year, they sell out every single night.
Yeah, they sell out and it's
that's why it makes you think that every single offseason we do talk about the Knicks landing people because it is still people want to play there. A lot of people have like career nights when they go to MSG. It's just a great atmosphere. It's a great energy. A lot of people do want to play there. It's just, do you want to play for that organization? So it's always possible. It just takes one to change that narrative, I think.
And it's all about the name too with teams. Sometimes you hear Lakers, you think of their championships.
Management has screwed that system just so much that I feel like
so badly.
It's just, at this point, unrecoverable. All right, so we got.
I think the big one's DeMar.
So we got DeMar.
The Lakers apparently are very interested in DeMar DeRozan and would be willing to send Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green the other way, which would have to be a sign and trade. Like DeMar has his big player option, which he's most likely not going to turn down because I don't think he'll get that value in free agency this season. But sending Kuz and Danny Green the other way for DeMar, I mean that's good for the Spurs and for the Lakers. I think the Lakers get that third star, and the Spurs get a young guy that has some potential.
I think if the Lakers got DeMar,
fair deal, Dustin.
I think that's a fair.
Say it again.
You think that's a fair deal?
I do, just because the Spurs need to move on from DeMar in LA. Like LaMarcus Aldridge isn't it, and DeMar and LA are just both aging, and that doesn't work. They didn't even make the playoffs with it. They got an 8 seed last year, or were they the 8 seed? Maybe they were 7, something like that. They went to 7 with Denver in the first round. I remember that series actually, but that's just not a duo that's going to work in this league. They do need to move on, just rebuild, try and get some picks. I mean, this isn't picks, but this is a young guy in Kyle Kuzma that still has some potential.
I think you're getting those young guys is going to help your team out.
And I think
so
dominant. The Lakers are going to be so dominant
The
right now.
Lakers are already dominant if they keep Kuz and Danny Green, but I think if you bring in DeMar, I mean, people like we talked about last time, DeMar is, in a sense, I mean, you know, you hear about the Spurs and you see their seeding. He's still a phenomenal player. He still gets you points. He still gets you minutes. He still gets you all these amazing stats, and he plays the game so well. And honestly, I'd love to see a guy like that play for the Lakers or something like that, and potentially get back on that playoff court.
For some reason, I just can't see DeMar DeRozan at a team like that, like the Los Angeles Lakers. Like he's such a
Weird.
I could see him on the Clippers. I could see him on the Clippers.
Toronto, he's such like a I don't know. I don't know how to say this without being mean, but like DeMar DeRozan, I just never see him. Like I would never see him at an LA or like a Miami or like
you see him as a small market guy.
Small market guy that he brings. Like he's a great player. I really like him, but he's more of a Toronto guy. He's more of like a smaller, like you said.
Could be that guy on the Spurs though. I could see that.
I see Kuz as a big market guy. I see Kuz as a LA, New York.
I think I could see Danny moving over to the Spurs. Kuz is a tough one, but
Danny would be going back to the Spurs. That would be cool too.
I can see Danny going back. I don't know. I think it would be fine. I just think it'd be weird for DeMar to be on the Lakers. I would love to see it though. That would be nice.
If that was made, I think we all agree that would be a great value trade on both sides. I think that we would like to see that.
The only thing I'm asking for is DeMar DeRozan to reunite with Kyle Lowry at the end of the season.
Yes, I want that so bad.
I want that reunion back.
Facts. But since he got forced out of Toronto and Kyle Lowry and all of his best buds did end up getting a ring, for him to go to LA, and if he were to get a ring himself, he deserves it. So I would like to see that.
I would be fine with that.
I want to see. You know, I don't know about you, but I want to see DeMar get back on that playoff court and get a ring or something.
I love DeMar. I still think
he deserves it.
I want him to get a ring.
He 100% deserves it. And no matter how he gets that ring, I support him getting there. I
want him to get a ring. I do.
He's the player that puts in
the
effort.
Unless he goes to the Celtics, they're not getting a ring next year. But that's a whole different thing. Also, I don't really want him in Boston, but I'm just saying the Celtics are winning.
I don't think he's not a Boston.
We got Jalen and Jason. They're gonna.
No, I know. That was just my way of saying that Celtics are winning the chip, but that's a whole different thing.
A whole different. Yeah, that's a different.
Justin, knock on wood for me.
No, of course, not bad.
Speaking of Celtics,
yep.
Gordon Hayward's got his player option. He wants out apparently. So where do we see him going? Justin, do you want to kind of start?
Yeah, I think he sort of wants out, and I can see why he wants out just because his role is so limited in Boston. But he certainly isn't turning down his $34 million player option, which I can't even believe that is the price on that. But he certainly isn't turning that down. So he's going to take it, and it'd have to be a sign and trade. So Indiana is always still a rumor, and he'd fit well in Indiana. They need some wing depth. He'd probably play pretty well there, especially if they got rid of Oladipo. He'd have the ball in his hands a bit more than he does in Boston. And hopefully we could get Miles Turner coming the other way. I've been preaching that for a long time, but it would fit like a glove. And
Pacers would be willing to give up Miles Turner for.
We have 3 first-round picks, so it would take 1 or 2 of those first-round picks as well.
Be willing to give up those?
Yeah, because we don't even have the roster spots for.
We already have so many rookies too in our farm. We have so many guys.
Yeah, if we're gonna move him and we end up with Miles Turner, I'm happy with moving him for that for sure.
And we still
have Miles Turner. That's a championship team.
For sure.
That's like a next season. I know this is probably biased, but Celtics are probably winning the chip or at least getting.
And you still have a first-round pick if you don't give away all 3. You still have a first round.
And Smart would slide right into the starting lineup. Oh my God!
How many picks do you think the Pacers would be asking for? 2 or 3?
2. I'd say
or 1.
Well, I mean, I think what you do. What you do is you offer 1 so that they'll ask for 2.
Could we give Gordon Hayward? Could we give another bench player? And then a pick, or we need to throw.
We could, but we're more likely to just give the pick. Yeah,
I'd rather give a pick. I don't want to get. I like our lineup so much right now with the young guys.
Picks. I know Danny likes his picks too, so I don't know.
I know, but the young talent we have already. We already had 3-round picks. We got so many guys.
And then the other. Dame, you go ahead.
You need in the next 2 years to get a championship. So,
I would love that so much.
Justin, I just think right now we have we're the problem we're going to have at some point is going to be like the Clippers. We're going to be so deep, and we're going to have to just shuffle through our lineup. I hate to,
that's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, but you just don't want players to get angry about it.
All the Celtics need at this point, in my opinion, is a good big, which we would get in Miles Turner. But we do also, I think we're underestimating, we need more depth.
We do. And like you just said, John, we'll be shuffling through our depth. I thought that going into this year too with all the young guys, but the young guys are young guys. They need experience, and we're all sharing such little PT. They don't really get too much experience in Boston. So what come the playoffs against Miami, when Miami is one of the deepest teams in the league, and we didn't have enough depth. That was a problem. That's why we lost that series. We didn't have enough depth. It was just our big three, and Kemba wasn't playing all that well. So it was basically just Jalen and Jason trying to do it themselves, and it didn't work out super well. And Smart. Smart was unbelievable in the playoffs. But so we do need more depth. That's why I'd rather give up the picks than give up bench players, to be honest. Because I don't know where that depth is going to come from if it doesn't come from within the system.
Do you think they'll get? Do you think by them having more PT that they'll produce more next season, or do you just think?
I still have a lot of hope for like Carson Edwards. I mean, he's a bucket. Romeo Langford looked pretty good in his few minutes there when he would get them. I don't know. I still have hope.
I think we still got.
Speaking of trading those draft picks, though, the other one that the rumors Drew Holiday, which he's a higher caliber player than Miles Turner. You could definitely argue, and that would be crazy. I mean, picturing a lineup of Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown on the court together, nobody is scoring, and I would feel so bad for the other team. No one is scoring on those three.
Who do you think we're gonna have to give up though for Drew Holiday? That's the thing.
It would definitely be at least all three picks and Hayward for sure. Probably another piece, probably a Carson Edwards or something like that.
The thing is,
would you do that?
Honestly, yeah, dude. I think I would.
No, I wouldn't do that.
If we could keep Smart, I would.
I would rather get the Miles Turner by giving up 2 picks in Gordon Hayward than having to give up 3, a bench player and Gordon Hayward. Like I'm with Jerry now. I would rather just keep the 3 picks.
Here's the thing. Wait. Go ahead.
Depth.
Go ahead, Dan.
You just need depth too.
Here's what I'm asking you, Justin. Yeah. Do you think? Let me ask you 2 questions. First, and then I guess the second one's contingent on the first. But first, do you think Drew Holiday would start over Marcus Smart?
Yeah.
How? Okay. Question 2.
Smart comes off the bench anyways.
What are you talking about? He deserves a starting lineup. He
does deserve it, but as long as Hayward's on the roster, I think Hayward will be back in the starting lineup next year if he stays in Boston. So Smart has come off the bench for years now.
You know what I like better? You know what I like better? Kemba, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Miles Turner.
I would love that, dude.
I don't want to see Smart riding the bench. I don't want to see that. Man, that's so powerful on defense. Unless he's already getting offensively stronger.
I agree with John. Unless Drew Holiday, I mean, I like Drew Holiday, but unless he's like he has to be a dog. That's why I like Marcus Smart.
He is a dog. He is literally
Justin.
He is a dog. All players, players are interviewed and asked who the hardest player to play against is, who's the best defender in the league, they all say Drew Holiday. This man is a dog, and he puts up 20 a night, and he doesn't have to put up 20 a night in Boston. He'll just be a beast.
Here's the thing,
man, that'd be beautiful. And we could finish out games with the small ball lineup with Drew and Marcus on there.
Hear me out. You're going to give up so much for Drew Holiday. And now I'm going to take Jerry's side on this type of argument. If you don't get a championship, I don't think it's going to be worth it. Because
we would.
Here's the thing, though, because I know I'm not saying Smart's this type of guy, but Smart is going to want his minutes too, though. And if we don't give him the minutes that he's going to want, we're going to force him out.
At this point, give all the minutes to Marcus Smart. He deserves it.
I just think right now, if I'm Marcus Smart and you bring in Drew Holiday and he's taking my spot, Marcus Smart is going.
He'll be mad.
He's going to be mad. This is going to be like a Terry Rozier situation. It's going to be like a Terry Rozier situation.
What's the contract Drew Holiday is trying to sign, if he does sign? Is it long-term or is it short-term?
Well, he has 1 year left and then a player option the following year. So we don't know. He'd be like 2 seasons removed from signing a new contract. So
because I'd rather keep Smart long-term than to risk.
Smart only has 1 year left. Next year, Smart's last year, and then he's unrestricted.
So So if you bring in Drew Holiday, next
He
year.
probably would lose Smart. You're
You'd
correct.
probably lose Marcus
He
Smart.
would 100%
No,
lose
I
Smart.
want to do
Listen,
that.
You 100 lose Smart. Okay, here's the only reason I would only give up Drew if Drew's going to guarantee me a chance. I'm not just one championship. He's got to guarantee me a couple because I hope he's not coming for just 1 year. He's got to be staying. I'm not keeping him for a year or two.
Well,
if we're
he's
giving up
he's
3 picks.
not super young anymore either. So I mean,
So then,
look at my ideal.
You're not giving
my
up
ideal
3
offseason
picks.
forever. I know my ideal offseason forever has been Miles Turner. That is my number one option. If we could make that happen, I want to make that happen.
Email
So,
Danny
don't
Ainge
get me
right now
wrong.
and let him know. Email Danny Ainge right
Don't
now
get
and let
me
him know.
wrong.
I think he's aware. I think he knows. He's got his fits.
He's trying. I think he's trying.
Said that for so long, Justin.
What did you say?
It's harder
I've
than
been
we think.
saying that for so long. How do
I know. I want Miles Turner so bad.
It's harder than you think sometimes,
The starting five you just said, Jerry, a minute ago of Kemba, Smart, JB, JT, and Miles Turner
That's a
would
championship
just be
right there.
ridiculous.
That's multiple
That's
championships
ridiculous.
every
and
year.
Then you got like Romeo Langford, and then you got
Carson
See,
Edwards.
that's where we
You
could
got
hopefully get a
Taco
nice free agency
Fall.
signing too, because we do need a piece off the
Taco.
bench.
Dude,
Wanamaker, we had the worst bench scoring in all of basketball this season. Brad Wanamaker led our bench unit in scoring. That can't happen.
He
next
did
year.
have a pretty.
Ooh, we
he did
need-
have a
Hey,
pretty
and I'm
good-
not shitting on Brad Wanamaker because
He had a
played
great.
pretty
He had a
well.
great season. He had a great season.
All right, you know
we
who
also have Daniel Tice riding the bench too. Another great.
No, he
that's
starts.
underrated.
If we
Another
bring
great
in Miles
player.
Turner, he would
bring
go to
in
the bench, but
Miles.
Daniel
He'll
Tice starts.
bench.
Right, he's gonna ride the bench if you bring Miles Turner, and he is very underrepresented when he's
Hear
a
me
dog
out.
when he gets out there. He's a dog.
Hear me out. This is not gonna happen. But we get JJ Redick, right?
I know, dude.
And we have starting 5, and then you got Tyson, JJ Redick off the bench. Give me the championship now. Like, come on.
There's damn near no way we could bring.
Yeah,
in
we're not getting
though.
JJ Redick, but
Yeah, that's another story for another
but,
day.
yeah, that's another story. We'll go. All right. so
Yeah, we'll move on.
We'll move on. We'll
We
go to
are we're about a little over a half hour in.
Yeah,
Should we,
we'll move on. We'll go in a quick NFL, just kind of brief.
we'll hit this real quick.
Bucks new Super Bowl champions. We did that like that bit like 2 weeks ago. All right. Well, Saints beat them 38-3. Tom had 3 interceptions,
Okay.
and I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
you know what? Let's just be honest though. I'm gonna go right out ahead and say it, but then I think that the biggest competition for them was the Saints, and the Saints already beat them this season. It was closer, and I think the problem right now.
Big upset though.
The problem
Oh, yeah.
right now is not the team, it's Tom. It's not the team, it's Tom.
No, I don't know.
I don't think you can say that.
I think it's the Tom. I think it's Tom.
I think that the Saints are just. the
30.
Bucs
I think it's
crit-
Tom. No, I don't. I'm not saying I blame Tom. I'm saying it's Tom in the sense that he is fitting into a new system still. He now has to play tougher teams on average, I think, over here in the NFC. I mean, you have the
Oh, wait,
Seahawks,
yeah.
you have
Yeah.
the Saints, you have all these teams. So now what happens is Tom has to adjust to that. He's playing star quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, guys that all should have 6 rings in their own name
Plays
next to
Drew
Tom. And now when you come play Drew Brees, who has the most passing yards, he's number 1 on everything that Brady is second or 1 above. Brees is second. And I have so much respect for Brees. And Brees has been in this system. He has been there. Peyton and him have just been doing it every day. You know, they haven't gotten the ring in a while. And I think Tom now just has to fit into this system. Again, you're bringing in all these all-star people that we talked about. You know, Antonio Brown's coming and everything. But just because you do that doesn't mean the team's going to be good in a second. You know what I mean? It's going to take time. I think that their biggest competition right now is going to be the Saints. And I think that right now, the way it's looking, I think it's going to be just a tug-of-war fight right now between the Saints and the Bucks for who's going to get that seed.
So we don't have a ton of NFL news this week, so I'll gonna go quickly. So we'll go one thing. I guess we do this every week, or we do it like every other week. But like, after this game, who do you think's coming out of the NFC?
It's not. See,
You're right.
that's the problem. I think it's easier to say who's coming out of the AFC because right now you have 4 teams that I'm thinking of right now, and I'm putting the Bucks at the 4 spot. Honestly, I think the Saints just moved up to the 2 spot for me. They were riding 3 or 2. Green Bay's only riding 3 for me because the Bucks spanked them the other week. And I think the Seahawks have always been riding 1. They've just been consistent. The Seahawks have been consistent. The
Seahawks
Bucks have been
lost to
going.
the Bills this week.
I know.
The
That's
Bills
the-
continue to look great.
And the thing with that though, my argument is that because the Bills are looking hot, the Bills have been consistent as well, and you play another consistent team. And I'm honestly happy for the Bills. It was a close game still, but I think the Seahawks have been most consistent with their playing. Wilson hasn't been giving up interceptions like Brady has one day and then another day he isn't. I think he's been consistent. Breeze has been much more consistent now, and I think it's really just between if the Bucks can just. I mean, the Bucks won't have a chance to play the Saints again until the playoffs if they make it, which they probably will. But I think that Green Bay, still, I can't sit here and say that they're going to beat Green Bay easily because that game was all dependent on their defense. The Bucks
I
got
love
an
you, man.
interception. They were down by 10. They got an interception, and then just Tom carried them back.
I like
It's
your-
not a.
I agree.
This is not an easy thing right now, and I think I'm gonna. It's still hard to say. I
Real
think I'm
quick.
gonna say Seahawks, and that's still tough for me to say just because they've been consistent.
I
And
think
I
that-
really want Russ I really want Russ to get to that Super Bowl again because he deserved it. But
I'm going Saints. I like Drew Brees.
see,
I think he's
No
want-
recency bias. I'm
no,
just kidding.
see, I'll tell you right now.
okay. All right, fine. True.
No, it's a good answer. Like, there's
It's
nothing wrong with
It's
that.
one game, right? But looking at that game specifically, right? He just looked better than Tom. And I like Russell Wilson. I still think he's playing well. I just don't trust the Seahawks in the playoffs. That could be a bias.
I think
because of the whole Malcolm Butler thing, but just in general, I just don't like all of a sudden. I feel like it's almost all of a sudden. I mean, Russell Wilson has always been a good QB. No one can argue that. But it just feels like all of a sudden he's starting to be dominant. And I think Drew Brees has always been.
Well, no. Russell has always led the league in a lot of things, a lot of areas. He's always been dominant. It's just that he goes under. He's underplayed in that aspect when you mention his name because he just doesn't have that ring. He's just not at that level because you
He's
already
got a
have.
ring.
He's got a ring. He's got one ring.
Oh shit! Yeah, he does have one ring. My
Yeah,
bad. My
the
bad.
year before
I
the Patriots.
forgot the year before the Patriots.
But
But
I just feel like.
But now you're entering a league where you have like all these other quarterbacks that are just as versatile as he is at an older, just a younger age. You have Patty Mahomes. I mean, Lamar Jackson. I mean, and you're going to be having Trevor Lawrence coming to the league soon too. And God knows.
Well,
where
he's
win,
gonna
but-
probably be on the New York Jets.
He's
He's
gonna
not gonna
probably
be a
be on the
problem
New
for a
York-
few years.
Yeah, he's going to be running for a few years like Joe Burrows. But Jerry, I see
The problem
Jerry.
with the Patriots, we only beat him by
Jerry,
3 points.
Jerry, I see your,
Well, sure.
well, yeah, but that's another argument because we didn't have some key players there. So I think that was a good game in that sense. I think that
I
was
thought that was a good game.
No, I'm not saying a good game. I'm saying that was a tighter game than we would have originally thought because of the players that we didn't have.
We almost lost.
Jacoby Myers is the GOAT. That's all I'll say. And we won't even talk about that game. 'Cause it
And
was such a
So,
dog shit
so
game.
without even getting into that because we don't want to take away from our GOAT time, but the thing that I agree with Jerry on this is the team that I think looks on paper like they can probably make it to the Super Bowl is the Seahawks. But after this week with the Saints, the team that is more likely to make it, and that's why I'm putting him at the 2, just because of the consistency with the
definitely
Seahawks.
bias on my
The-
part, but
I love Drew Brees, and I want to see this man make another Super. Every year I've said Patriots Saints or Chiefs Saints because I love Drew Brees, and I think he has the ability to make it. He got screwed a couple years with some bad calls on the penalty side.
I think it was the Vikings game, right?
It was the Vikings game too, and
the Rams. You talking about the Rams one
and
with
the-
the
and the-
horrible call?
yeah, and the Rams one as well.
The missed
So,
PI.
That one
so
too.
so shit like that has played against him. But I think all that aside, if you just push that aside, because it can always be argued in the other team's favor as well. Drew Brees, I think, is the quarterback that can get you there with the system he has, the coach he has, the organization, the team built around him. I'm not saying Russ can't. I think on paper right now it looks like he can, but the Saints for me are really rising up, Jerry. That's why I'm putting them at the 2. They went down. They went from the. I think they went from the 3 or 4 for me up to the 2. They really jumped up in that power ranking for me.
It'd be nice to see Breeze back at the Super Bowl.
I want to see Breeze win. I'm
Yeah.
saying it right now. I
still
would
think-
rather see
I-
Breeze win a Super Bowl than Tom win another one. That's just my opinion. That's just me because I've already seen Tom win a lot. I want to see Breeze win one.
I don't think Tom's.
I don't think Tom will win another one, and if he
I
does,
think-
it's just
I
going to
think
be
he can
one.
still get back personally, but
I said that last week too, even before this game. I don't think Tom's
I
getting
think
back.
he could get back.
I think Tom
That's-
might
that's
get
fair.
one. I think Tom might get one. I think Breeze has. I hope God. I hope Breeze has. I just want to see Breeze with 3 rings on his finger by the end of his career.
He's only got one, right?
He's only got
Yeah, I
one.
think he only has
And
one.
I'm not saying that Breeze won't be a Hall of Famer because he's already.
He's not going
solidified
to
that.
get 3. He's not going to get 3.
He's not going to get
Max
3.
2.
I want to see him get. I want to see him get at least another. But God, would it be amazing to just see this man go in the Hall of Fame with the first spot in every category almost and 3 rings on his finger? I would just love that for him. I would.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on to the MJ LeBron debate. The only other thing we were going to bring up was Tua. Tua had a great game. Shout out to
Tua
him.
did have a good game. Shout out to him.
He did. And the Miami Dolphins are 2-0 with Tua, 5-3 overall. That's pretty crazy. Impressive
really
start for
think
them.
That the
Yeah.
Dolphins have an over 500 record, but we'll get into that another time.
The last thing I'll say real quick, though, is that Marshawn Lattimore literally owns Mike Evans. It's actually hilarious. He's just beasting him on Twitter and stuff, too. Because the last 3 matchups with Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore has held Mike Evans to 0 catches on 6 targets. And he posted on Twitter, better luck next year. Right after that game, I'm actually dead.
We love
It's actually funny as hell.
Yeah, love to hear a little trash talk. Okay, we'll get into the main bit of the show. We know everyone does this. We thought it was gonna be just like a lack of news this week, but it ended up being kind of a lot. But we'll
Honestly.
get into the MJ LeBron debate, a little classic. So let's just go around the horn, opening arguments. Who's the greatest of all time? Michael Jordan or LeBron James? Justin, you can start.
Oh, boy. I'm going to start.
Oh, you want to?
I'll pass it off. All right,
Dave.
the way I feel about this is that there is no way to argue against either of them. It's only arguments for one or the other.
All right.
And
So we'll prelude this. It's tough to like.
they're 1 and 2, and no matter who you have, you're not wrong. You
I'll say
could
right now.
convince
I'll
me the
say
other way.
right now. I'll say right now to everyone there. I respect LeBron. I think he's a great player. I think he's definitely in the GOAT debate for sure. But I think it's just like anyone who's looking on the outside at Tom Brady. But I think it's different for me. I just don't like LeBron. I don't like him at all, one bit.
But it can't be about that. It can't be about
I know it can't be about that,
But
but
you talking about like who could win in a one-on-one?
No. Greatest of all.
no.
Overall career.
We're all
Because it'd be MJ if it was a one-on-one.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, it'd be
It'd be
MJ.
LeBron in a one-on-one, but
No, it'd be MJ. Prime MJ? Oh, yeah, it'd be MJ.
me, it's the other way around. LeBron would totally pull. Just think of the new school way of basketball. LeBron's just
All
dominant.
right. So John, you guys aren't answering the question. So John, are you?
I'll answer right now.
Okay, answer.
I think that overall, you look back at it, MJ's career is just better than LeBron's right now. But
Okay. Justin, all right. With
All
Justin,
right, I'll say mine. You want me to say mine?
you already said it. Michael Jordan.
Well, that was on the one-on-one. I'm going to say it overall.
Okay, say overall.
the other way.
Overall, it's going to be MJ because when you
Okay,
look at his whole career.
all right.
Okay.
You said open arguments. Justin, go.
You didn't even let us argue. You just said,
Well, we'll get into debate because I
Opening
know
choice. Opening choice.
I'm LeBron. Fine. David, all right. We know
it's
Justin
so
got-
hard to pick one. It's literally like I think that MJ is the greatest of all time and LeBron is the best of all time. And I'll explain that later too.
So
I
what's MJ the GOAT and LeBron's the boat? What the fuck are you trying to say over here? I don't understand.
Sure, if you want to put fucking little
no, I see what
4-letter tags on them, go ahead.
All right. Wait a minute. David, explain.
Because I'll tell you right now, I hope LeBron's boat sinks to the
Hey,
bottom of the ocean
David, explain your
and he
point.
drowns.
David, explain your point.
I'm going to back up what Justin said right there. I think that overall, when you think about the game of basketball and the career that MJ had, it's better right now than the career that LeBron had. But that being said, the way that Justin's saying the best of all time is that if you're thinking of new school basketball compared to old school basketball, I mean, they're both like the best of both categories. But new school basketball, it's going to crush old school basketball. Like
It's
that's
just like
the
you
way
have to put it in perspective. MJ played in a different time period. The game was different. The way you played was different. And now when you look at the game is just dominated by offensive players that are just hogging the ball. Players that just hog the ball and just shoot.
Yeah, that doesn't,
score.
offense doesn't mean hogging the ball.
Here's the thing.
No, but LeBron just takes the ball all day. I don't
All right,
care.
I preluded-
LeBron's just trying to.
You can't really. All right, I preluded this in the beginning. It's hard to judge old school and new school.
I actually like LeBron compared to you guys. And I'm saying that MJ.
Fucking hate LeBron. Fucking hate them.
Doesn't matter.
Look,
if
you say LeBron hogs the ball, except he leads the league in assists. So he has the ball in his hands, but he's making plays. That's different than-
plays.
you
but
can
it's-
hate him all you want. He's still the greatest of all time, and you
He's
can't
not
argue.
the greatest of all time. He's not the greatest of all time.
He is
It's
the
MJ.
I think they're
I'll tell you
MJ.
why. I'll tell you why.
pretty
I'll
much.
tell you why. Wait. Justin told me this statistic, and I'm surprised he's not even backing me up on this. But
I wanted to. I don't know.
Wait
what
a
to say.
minute. I told you to pick a side. This is a discussion. This is a debate.
I'm sitting on the fence right now. I'm hurting. I'm literally right on the fucking poke of the fence.
Oh my God. Literally, this statistic changed it for me. Okay, when Michael Jordan left the Bulls, right? The Bulls still had Scottie Pippen. They still had Dennis Rodman. And you know what they did?
Oh yeah, I remember telling you this. Sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
They still did well. They made it to the conference finals. Did they make it to the finals? No. Did they win the finals? No, obviously. LeBron, remember when LeBron left the Cavs? What was that team? That was like I'm
So-
pretty sure it was last in the league.
I believe the stat was when MJ left the Bulls after the first three-peat, their next season they were 1 win less than they were the season before, and when LeBron left the Cavs, they were 43 wins less than the season before. So that's a pretty crazy stat. But what was I going to say? The longevity of LeBron's greatness, you can't argue that. Like MJ doesn't compare when you look at the longevity of his greatness. He
LeBron
went
is-
6 for 6 in the
and that's
finals.
the thing I wanna say.
That's incredible. But
LeBron,
LeBron's been doing this for 17 years or 16
LeBron,
years.
since he was in high school, was said to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. When he was in high school, he went straight to the NBA, and right when he got to the NBA, he's made a huge impact. Do you remember that Cavs team? We were all like pretty young when that happened, we were
The
pretty young.
roster, it was disgusting.
But the roster was disgusting, but he still made it to the quarterfinals. And he was 19 years old, like 19, 20 years old. And just has continued to dominate over the years. Either gets to the finals and loses or just wins.
I'm still just I'm just because I
Fantastic
don't like
player.
LeBron doesn't mean I don't think he's a great player, and doesn't mean that I don't respect his game. I just think when you look at the records, MJ still has the upper hold for him on me, and I also just respect MJ for being just one of the first to do it, one of the first to just be named the greatest of all time. The way he played and just being the first that could do that. That's just how I look at it.
You don't think
Like
LeBron-
I don't think if
Last dance.
I don't think if I'm looking at other leagues too, and I'm not changing the argument here, but just, if I'm looking over at hockey, when we have the Wayne Gretzky debate too, there's no one to compare Wayne Gretzky to right now because it's just different and the games are different. But again, when no matter who you compare, it's different from old school to new school. So I think when you look at it,
Who did that?
yeah, I know, I'm saying, but
But if you have to
I will agree with you that new school LeBron is the greatest of all time. I will agree with you that. That's
LeBron-
There's
LeBron-
two different-
no,
yeah,
no.
it's-
New school basketball, he's the greatest of all time, not overall compared.
What's better, new school or old school?
Personally, think old school.
No, you don't. Don't even lie. You can still say MJ and not say that shit.
We'll watch old school basketball. They don't have scoreboards, dude. They have to have you seen the old school basketball? They literally put
I
it
have
up.
watched
It's awful.
watched some of the older games. I would
No,
much rather
but-
see MJ play.
No, you would not want to.
Yes, I would. I would not want to go. I would not pay
over
money.
Steph Curry and Trae
I
Young and
would
Dame
not-
pulling from half court
Nope. I
and
would
dunking
not.
on people like, oh, quit
Nope,
playing.
I would not go.
it's-
I would not pay money to go see LeBron James play a game. I would not pay money for it.
It's just,
Right?
I mean,
I
that's
would
just
not pay
kind of.
money.
At all.
You guys see The Last Dance?
Yeah.
Just Michael Jordan's mindset just blows my mind, and it's similar to LeBron. They do have
His mindset doesn't blow you away.
they do have they're basically the same kind of player. It's just I don't know. Something about MJ.
The way I see it is that LeBron went to 10 straight finals, and MJ didn't. He went 4 for 10, and 4 for 4 and 6. So I guess that's the same thing. And MJ obviously went 6 for 6. So if you're just gonna look at those numbers, you can't argue. Obviously, MJ's 6 for 6 is better than 4 for 10.
Here's the
But-
thing I was going to say with that.
But if you're gonna look at that, then freaking Bill Russell is the GOAT. He won 11 rings.
Yeah,
So he's not the GOAT.
love
So
Bill.
you can't
Right,
just
no,
look
but
at that.
but you're not looking at. I'm not saying I'm looking at rings right now. I'm just
What do you-
looking
I know.
overall. I'm just looking overall.
Who do you think's more clutch?
Wrong.
Who-
It's
Yeah.
so tough because they've both just hit countless buzzer beaters and like clutch shots.
That's what I'm
Like
saying. They're both like pretty much that same.
that's what I'm saying too. That's why this debate is crazy to me because like it's just impossible
when
to argue
when you really
against
look at
one
this
or the
debate,
other.
if you're
Okay,
Jerry, if you're putting all bias aside, okay, all bias aside,
I'm not
because
biased. I hate both of them.
stop, I'm
a
stop,
Celtics
I'm
fan.
not
Both of
saying
them.
your bias. I'm saying bias in general. Just whatever bias you have. I have bias because I don't like LeBron. I don't love MJ, but I don't like LeBron at all. I'd rather
Yeah,
have
both.
MJ on my team than
Take
LeBron.
LeBron.
But Dame's right. It really does. It's just neck and neck. When one guy has more assists, the other guy's got more points. It's just back and back. And right now, I'd say if LeBron stopped his career right now and you look at it, it really is just still so close. But honestly,
I got to respect LeBron. I don't think he's stopping anytime soon, and I think he's going to be playing just as long as Tom Brady has. And if he does that, if he plays as long as Tom Brady has, and he gets a couple more championships, and he still plays at the level that he's playing, I will hand the title over to LeBron in that category because he has now surpassed Michael in so many more games, and he is still performing at a high level. He just won a championship, so if LeBron can still win a championship a couple more times, and he can still play at a high level, and he doesn't have a downward trend, that's horrible. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is MJ wasn't facing a 6'11" person who could score on the three point line. He wasn't facing
Facts.
Klay Thompson. He wasn't facing Steph Curry. That's all I'm gonna say. 6 for
Facts.
6. I'm not saying it's not. 6 for 6 is respectable, but you have to look at LeBron, what LeBron was working with, which was not a lot, in my opinion,
It's true.
and what he's facing. Like, there's just
Yep.
like that's kind of like that's what gets me.
I see your argument, and
Jordan
I
is very good, very good. I watched Last Dance. It was very good. I really liked that documentary, and I thought he was a very good basketball player, and I still think he is. And I do agree with you guys; it's close. But all I'm saying is when you look at who he was facing, like some of these dudes couldn't even like move. That like they're just like I just feel like 6 for 6 is respectable. He did some things that just were like mind blowing.
It's more than respectable. It's incredible.
I just think when you look at the Bulls
That's what we're
roster
debating.
those years when they got those championships, like he just really came out making the first super team. And those players are just phenomenal playing with each other. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. I mean,
Okay,
if
you're
you
saying
be playing
he
against
made a super team and then beat these teams with the super team.
What?
You're saying he had a super team, right? I'm not disagreeing with that. Scottie Pippen.
No, I'm saying he had a super team with the players he had. Yes.
Okay, and how do you think the rest of the NBA was at that point? Do you think the rest of the NBA was like respectable?
I'm not saying that. I'm Jerry.
Would you ever say that? Is there any point in LeBron's career where you would say he was on a super team?
I think right
yeah,
now
obviously.
Exclude the Lakers, but exclude Anthony Davis. So we'll take this one out of consideration. I know you just won a ring, so you can't just exclude that. But
I think with Bosch and Wade, that was probably the. I think with Bosch.
Oh, you're right. In Miami, you could argue that.
I think
too.
Miami.
Okay.
I would argue Bosch and Wade at their prime.
But
LeBron
no,
was on the Heat. That's it.
Cavs.
No, Heat, Lakers.
you think the Cavs did?
Cavs were a super team.
But with the Cavs, like getting that championship.
Yeah, I mean, and he had to go against the Warriors. I'd love to see the MJ and that Bulls team go against the Warriors with Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond. I don't think the Bulls win a championship if they had to go against the Golden State Warriors.
Again,
I'd be rooting for him.
I don't know.
can't compare them, but
I don't like the Warriors either.
Apples and oranges.
Someone comes up to me on the street and says MJ LeBron. Saying LeBron.
My final answer is they're both tied for first.
Look, I think it's just a. I think I'm just gonna say it. And this is not because, again, I think that LeBron, when you look at him, I can't argue that he is not a great player. Again, Justin said it. This is not arguing against LeBron being a great player or against MJ being a great player. You're just arguing for the person. There's nothing against them. I think that you cannot. I think because in some instances, when you look at statistics and you look at that stuff, you can't cross compare. I don't think you can compare really because the day and age was different. Basketball was so much different. I think when you look at these two players, if you changed the environment that they were in, I think they both would still perform at an extremely incredible level. If they grew up in that environment. I think LeBron is a phenomenal player. I just can't compare it.
No one's.
I love it.
We're all saying the same.
I know.
Hey,
I just
someone comes up to you on the street and says MJ LeBron.
I'm saying you can't argue it.
You're saying you can't argue it.
I'm saying if you look at it down to the wire, you can't argue it. I would say MJ, but I don't think you can argue it. I still don't think you can argue it though. I just don't think.
I kind of just think the way we've seen MJ, he's the GOAT. And then, the way that you're comparing it right now, I would agree that LeBron is the best of all time, player and agility-wise. But they have that same mindset where they're going to win. And it's just it was crazy watching The Last Dance.
I just think it's really hard to compare. Like, I'm going back to Justin. After, arguing, I tried to pick one of them to argue, and I really respect MJ so much. So I tried to really ride on that one, especially because that's the argument that most people don't take. And I wanted to make this interesting. But I respect MJ.
I would say that MJ is the argument people do take. I would say vast majority think MJ.
See, I've heard a lot of people say LeBron to me when I've asked them that question, so that's surprising. But I
Yeah.
love MJ,
We'll just
and I respect LeBron's play. It's really hard for me to look at both of these players and look at the environments that they played in, because you look at MJ's team with Scottie and everything, and that was a phenomenal team. But again, like you said, the league was different. If you put them in today's league, again, you have to change. I mean, it's really
all
hard.
yeah.
It's really
it
hard to
is.
compare. It's just
The
I mean,
next
the
generation.
greatest way I can put it though is, and not one of them said it, but Justin will know. But when they interviewed Wayne Gretzky and they said, "You're the greatest of all time, but could you play in today's league?" He said he would not be drafted in today's league. The greatest of all time admitted that if he was to play in this league, he would not be on the stats because the game is different. You can't cross compare. He said he can't compare himself to the guys that are playing now because they're faster. The skates are the equipment's better. The play is better. The game has evolved. Like coaching has gotten better.
say he could play in this league. He say he'd be the greatest of all time in this
Who?
league. MJ. If you asked him the same question, you would probably say
That's-
That right there is the
but-
difference between hockey and basketball.
But that's right there. That's
Okay.
that's the difference between hockey and basketball because MJ,
dumb.
as much as I would like to say, is still a cocky bastard. Wayne Gretzky
Yeah.
at least has the honorability to admit that, and take his ego out of it because he doesn't even really have an ego. That you can't compare it.
All right. Well, we promised we would
It's
shorten
the
it
same.
today.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick.
wrap
It's
up.
the same thing with Joe Montana and Tom Brady. Joe Montana has exclusive.
no, it's not. No, it's not. Tom
And that's
Brady
the
is the
lineup. Tom
undisputed
Brady-
goat. I don't want to hear.
No. Time out.
No, it's not.
No,
It's not.
Can you be quiet? Can you let me finish the fucking sentence, please?
I don't even want to. Where the fuck are you taking this? You're a
What I'm
Patriot fan. You're saying
what I-
Tom.
no,
is an
you
argument.
didn't even. No. I have explicitly told you Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. What I was going with this is the same thing that Jerry just said with Michael Jordan. Joe Montana has said that he is better than Tom Brady, and I disagree with that. Just like Jerry had just said,
I mean,
MJ thinks he could play in this league. That's where I was going with that. Before you fucking interrupted the middle of my sentence. interrupted the
Joe
beginning of your
Montana is a
mumbling.
grade A moron for saying that. I hope he
Yeah,
didn't
I
say
know,
that. I've
but
never
I just
seen
wanted
that.
to. I wanted to
that.
tell
Yes,
you what he had said. I wanted to tell you what he had said because I disagreed with it
despicable.
100%. Just like I would
I'm
disagree.
glad you told me that. I'm glad you
I
told me. That's
disagree.
despicable.
If MJ came up to me, Jerry, and MJ said, "I am better than LeBron," I would disagree with him because it's not fair to compare.
I say no. LeBron is better than you, and that's where we're gonna end this discussion.
All right. Yeah. We'll end it there.
We'll end it there.
Um,
It's been a great week. Please, if you made it this far, like and subscribe, baby. We're gonna come back next week with more information, more news. The draft's next week, so we'll be coming out with news for that. Everyone, just have a great weekend. Be safe.
yeah.
And the boys will talk to you later.
It's been real, boys. Peace.
Peace out. Love y'all.
Awesome.